which is going to be talking about both the NBA and the NCAA. So right now, this is around the time where basketball is like its most popular, mainly in college sports right now, just because of the NCAA tournament from both the women and the men's side happening. And then directly after that is when the NBA playoffs are going to roll around and the play-in games are going to be happening. So it's a really good time to be a basketball fan at around this point of the year. And just to go over like the games that are happening in college for the Sweet 16, because that's the round that we are at right now. Clemson is going to go up against Arizona, and Arizona is projected to win by at least 7 points. So, but in this game, honestly, I would take the under. I wouldn't take the over. I would take the under on the spread, which is 151.5. And if you have Arizona money line, I would take the under on the amount of points that they win by because they are projected to win by 7. I think at around this time in college basketball, a lot of the games are going to be a lot closer and a lot more competitive. There's not going to be a blowout game at all. I don't think so. Next game on the list is UConn going up against San Diego State. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. UConn is the most complete team in the entire NCAA tournament. And I don't really think there's much of a team that has a chance in beating them. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of a pause on UConn now. I'm going to bring them up. I'm going to bring them back up again, but I do want to get over these games that are going to happen tomorrow. North Carolina is going up against Alabama. I have North Carolina winning in a very close matchup. I think they're going to win by 3 points, and they are projected to win by at least 5 points. So Illinois is going up against Iowa State, and that's going to be that's probably going to be the best game in the entire bracket, of all the games that could be played, because Illinois is the 3rd seed and Iowa State is the 2nd, and both of those teams have a lot to prove. I really think that that is going to be a great game and one that everyone is going to want to watch. But now that we already talked about the rest of those games that went down, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about UConn, because there was something that and this will go right ahead into the topic of like NCAA going up against NBA. There was a sports analyst. Now, I'm just pulling up the quote right now, just trying to find it over at somewhere in my camera roll. I just need to find it. But essentially, there's always talk like around college sports. A lot of teams or a lot of analysts, they usually have these egregious takes. And here it is right here. Mike Greenberg, he said UConn would make the playoffs in the NBA's Eastern Conference. That's how good they are. I'm looking at teams that are 8 games under 500 in the play-in, and they're better than that. So a lot to unpack there, and a very egregious take, in my personal opinion, because you cannot compare college students to literal NBA athletes. That is just a comparison that is never going to work. That is something that you just shouldn't do, and that's something that it does not make any sense to do whatsoever. Chandler Parsons had some comments to say about this. He said the best player on UConn wouldn't play on the Detroit Pistons right now. That goes to show you the huge skill gap from NBA basketball to NCAA basketball. Now, why do analysts constantly say this? Why do they always try to make these comparisons? I could not tell you. I don't know what game they're watching that would compel them to say such things. Like, I don't know what game Mike Greenberg was watching that would compel him to say something like that. But UConn, while they are a unit and they are a very, very good team, they do not compete against NBA players. Like, NBA players are like the top 1% of college athletes. Not many Division I athletes end up going to the NBA. And it really shows just how difficult it is to just make an NBA roster, because the best player on UConn wouldn't even be able to get a spot on the Detroit Pistons, who are one of the worst organizations right now and one of the worst teams right now. So for him to say that UConn can make the playoffs, like the NBA playoffs, that is a ridiculous task, because you have to remember, a lot of these players on college, yes, they do have scholarships, and yes, they are good. Doesn't necessarily mean that the entire squad is going to get drafted. There are going to be players above them. There's always going to be somebody that's above. And that's literally just the challenge of being in the NBA, just being the best. And it's impossible when there's so many people who literally could be considered the best. Brian Scalabrine had this great quote. He said, "I am closer to LeBron than you are to me." You as in like average Joes like us, like people who are a little bit like normal people. I don't want to say that being an NBA athlete isn't normal, but being that tall is very, very rare. Like being a 7-footer, it's a rare talent. And being 6 feet tall, like 6'4", 6'5", like anything above 6'6", it's also incredibly rare. And there's a lot of them in the NBA. Like, they're not going to, not only that, a lot of NBA players, they go in an open gym, they don't miss. These NBA players in an open gym will not miss. They just don't. And you can just watch clips of it. You can see videos of it. You know that gym that, I'm sure a bunch of casual fans, like, they probably won't know this, but Drake has a gym that he plays, that he like has scrimmages in with all these NBA players. NBA players have scrimmages in this gym. You guys know exactly what gym I'm talking about, but it's every single time in this gym the NBA player looks like a Hall of Fame athlete. Like the gym makes people look like the best players ever. And that's not the gym. That is just the players being that good. Like, that's just how good they are when they're shooting in an open gym. No pressure, no attention from the media, just straight basketball. They are the best of the best. But now the argument is, why do so many people watch college more than they do NBA? Like, if NBA is supposedly the best, why are we watching college, and why is there more attention focused on college? Well, part of being the best means that you somewhat know what's going to happen. Like, you, as a casual, you might not know, but as someone who watches the NBA, like, a lot, like me, and someone who's a big fan of the NBA, like me, they will know exactly, like, what the team needs to look for. So, everyone is on around the same level in the NBA. They all have the exact same defensive IQ. They all have the exact same, like, offensive IQ and offensive strategy. If you know what the team is looking for, then you almost always know how the possession is going to end. Like, for example, when I watch the Boston Celtics, I understand that the Boston Celtics are going to either try running a pick and roll with Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, or they're going to allow Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown do whatever they want with the ball, and one of three things could happen when either of them has the ball. They either make the play themselves, make a play for someone else, or make a play that leads to a play for someone else. And 9 out of 10 times, that's going to be a three-point shot. If Jason Tatum drives to the hoop, everyone is going to help. And that help defense is just going to leave a wide open three. Defender on the top has to rotate down to the corner. Corner throws the ball to the guy on the wing. Open three almost every single time. And it's like wash, rinse, repeat with that offense. It's pick and rolls. You either take the shot yourself, make a play for someone else, so if the lob is open, you throw the lob, or make a play that would lead to a play to someone else, pass to the corner passes out to the wing, or fake passes, because there are times where the defender might bait that he's going to guard the corner, but in reality he's staying on the wing, depending on who the shooter is. And then that would lead into an open three almost every single time. And this happens way more often than it should, in my personal opinion, because I feel like the defenses, like, they should get used to the fact that the corner three is going to be open all the time, and the rotation should come a little bit earlier, and the switches should be a little bit different, but I digress. That's how the game is played. Now, in college, there's a lot more nuance in college. There's no guarantee that you are going to get an open three because the spacing in college is not entirely the same. And the offensive playbook in college is also not entirely the same. There's more of a chance that a college team wins on defense than an NBA team wins on defense. And that's sort of why in the NBA defense isn't really that valuable, because you got to score a lot more than the other team. And with that in mind, like, I sort of understand why defense isn't seen as valuable, but at the same time, what if you're not hitting your shots? You need that defense so that way, like, it can't just be like, okay, we're not hitting our shots, it's whatever, we'll get them next time. You got to be able to play some defense in there. And the lack of defense, that's also sort of made the game a little bit uninteresting to watch, like, with a bunch of other fans. Like, the NBA is very, very loose with how they call their fouls. The NCAA, they honestly, they let the players play. I've seen very few NCAA fouls in a game than I've seen NBA fouls. Like, the player in the NBA can literally just do this every single time, and they'll get the call. They will get free throws. But in college, if you were to do that, you don't get free throws. You just continue playing. And that's an aspect of the game that I really think the NBA should just bring back, just allowing these players to play. Because why? Why do we have to just disrupt the game every single time to worry about a foul call? We should not have to worry about that. Like, it slows the game down, and while, yes, it is scoring, it's just dull. And seeing players abuse it the way they do, while I will say it is pretty smart, it's only smart because the NBA refs allow them to do that. And the NBA keeps trying to implement these new flopping rules that just eventually don't end up working because players just resort to going "Nyeh" every single time when they get hit. And it's just annoying to see because it's like, just go up strong, try to score. You're not even trying to score at that point. But I digress. The play in the playoffs, however, they do sort of allow the players to decide the game a little bit more in the playoffs than they do in the regular season, but that should just be, it shouldn't be something that only happens in the playoffs. It should be a constant, in my personal opinion, because why? What is the point? And another thing that gets overlooked at in college is that there is a lot more team play, because in the NBA, you usually have that one guy that can create every type of that can create any shot for anyone. Look at Luka Doncic, look at Kyrie Irving, look at Trae Young, look at LeBron James, look at Jason Tatum, look at Zion, look at Giannis. Everyone on their team has at least one guy that can create shots for everyone else. And it sort of changed the game completely from ball movement to straight isolation and being able to see what kind of looks you can get. Where in college, it's more so ball movement, and we force you to play 5-on-5, not 1-on-1. And that's an aspect that a lot of fans can get behind, because it's like, ooh, we have no idea who's going to win or who's going to get the ball or who's going to make a play. And we also have no idea who's going to end up having a dominant scoring night, which is something that, like, you could almost always predict that, oh, this player is going to play great, or, oh, this player might be a little inefficient today. That's something that's something that's easier to predict than college. But that's just my personal opinion. But with that, we are out of time for this second segment, so I'm going to go ahead into the third segment where I give a quick recap of all of the NBA games that went down yesterday. So tune in after this short break.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.